minutes. That is the key thing for me. If they make it past 15 minutes and they're even in goals, maybe slightly ahead, they're actually playing really well.
And I also like the point from the desk about Betty versus Mystic. To me, Betty has been a guy that, even before this tournament coming in, I was pretty high on the Flash Wolves too, but he was always the sore spot for me with the Flash Wolves. Someone who itemizes so defensively every single game, who always plays very far back, who always has, kind of that scared mindset. And I've always felt like against the top 80 carries, it can be something you can target.
Definitely seems like something they have gone to, or I should say opposing teams have gone at in their previous games. Betty a target, usually put on Ashe, like you said, that utility, but still not having an impact even with the arrows. Only taken down too quick to initiate.
I like the Syndra ban here, showing a lot of respect. Mabel used it to beat SKT just before, and whenever Syndra is up, it's that little game of do we pick her blind and they have a chance to counter pick her, or do we pick some of the counter picks as flex pick like the Fizz? By just removing it and saying, you know what, GA has enough champions he can play in the mid, we don't need to deal with this. They actually just kind of remove a bit of a headache, I feel.
And also even respect to, Ben's pocket pick, if you will, on that Malzahar. A lot of people have been letting it through. He still loves to pick it, and it is something that does warp your item builds a lot because you pretty much are required to get a QSS as a carry against that Malzahar. So, Flash Wolves don't want to deal with that, and they're willing to ban it away.
Hey, for Betty, he's happy. He's like, oh, I get to build a QSS early? Nice.
I was already going to do that. This is fantastic.
But now it makes sense. Yay! Fizz locked in.
That's a lot of power. Fizz and
like
Lee Sin locked in.
I mean, this is great.
LPL's
When you have Condi versus Kasa, just take the most impactful jungler in the current meta, especially if you are a very skilled player. And that's obviously what we have right here in terms of pure mechanics. And I like the Lee Sin takeaway.
A little bit surprising to me that Graves is going to go unpicked, though. Actually prioritizing the Kha'Zix over the Graves here. So, Karsa very quickly locking that in. It was not banned, so perhaps wants some more early power as far as actually dueling up against that Lee Sin.
Well, Kha'Zix is very, very good against 1-3-1 comps. Because Kha'Zix obviously does really well when people are isolated, when they're split up, and especially when people try to split push and he can kind of jump in from an angle and gank them. So by seeing the Fizz, Flash was probably said, okay, you guys are going to try and split push. We're going to now pick a champion that can actually really deal with split push and compositions instead of the Graves, who's more of a team fighting jungler.
I also think that he's enabled quite well by the Shen. In combination with that, you can play a lot more aggressively. Anytime you have those delivery systems for that Shen pick, it's going to be pretty nice. And we're seeing a run back of the SKT combo here of Galio Fizz.
Now, there is a lot of flexing here. Galio mid lane is a thing in China. Galio support is a thing in solo queue. Obviously, Galio top has been the standard so far. Fizz mid and top lane as well. It is not locked in that this is going to be like Fizz mid, Galio top. I think there's a high chance it actually swaps around.
My one concern with Galio mid is I do feel like it kind of gives a free lane to a lot of matchups, and if you give this free lane over to Maple, someone who can kind of scale up and take over a game, it can be pretty risky. Having watched it played, even in the LPL finals, I felt like it was largely ineffective.
Well, there's a chance they're buying too much into the Galio hype. They just saw the last few games how effective it was, and be like, we need this champion.
Must have. Kled as well, just to the wayside on this side of the Team WE. We'll see what the bans are. Rise going to the mid lane, chunking out Maple one more time. They also got rid of the Zyra, so if they do have that comp to initiate, they will not be stopped.
And either way, I mean, this certainly could still be going top, and I do think the Galio into the Shen is going to be a very nice matchup because you're going to have such lane priority as far as the push. And when you have Condi on this powerful early jungler, you always want to have some strong lanes that are pushing, because Fizz, no matter where it goes, is going to be shoved in early. If you have both your solo lanes being shoved in, that's not something you're going to look for. So, you really do need to kind of play around that, not just the strengths of the lanes, but the strengths of the junglers.
I think it's a bit of a risky one from Team WE. They don't have a lot of shields around them. There's a lot of pick potential inside of Flash Wolves as well, and you are setting off for a bit of this 1-3-1 comp where leaving Mystic alone in the mid lane, it's not great wave clear, and he's not safe at all.
Hovering that Kench would even give more safety to the back line or front line if they wanted it. Hovering now the Ahri for Maple, as he may not, or I should say, feel okay with picking this blind.
It is kind of similar to what SKT did recently when they had Bang actually on the Kog'Maw, but without really a protection comp, and obviously it worked for them, but it's SKT. And, you know, it does feel like Kog'Maw is just so vulnerable. Yeah, you have the Galio, who's going to give you some damage reduction and stuff, but, like, this is so much dive. You have Kha'Zix, you have Shen, you have that Ahri, and like, there's so many ways to actually get onto the Kog'Maw, and if any of them can connect to him, he's going to be insanely vulnerable.
So Tam Kench coming in. We need to see on the other side if this will be Galio's support.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is still an option, and then you have Fizz top lane, and you can still now take your mid lane against Ahri. Orianna is a good matchup then for GA if he wants to play the Orianna mid instead of, you know, Galio or Fizz at this point. Can also take Fizz mid, and then again still move that Galio down to support.
They're saying as long as the desk was saying as long as 957 can be opened up on something, as long as he's not banned out. And I think everybody has the chance to open up here from WE in this game. What a crazy engaged composition for both teams, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty crazy draft. So this is Galio support. This is Kled top. We have to remember, I believe it was Kled that got played against G2 with Expect on the Shen. And this is not something that you don't smash Shen as a Kled. Like, I don't really like that matchup at all for 957. And honestly, I don't really like their draft. I just think that there's not a lot of protection for the Kog'Maw. Yes, like, you have essentially 4 people who want to dive and engage.
Exactly.
And then you just have Kog'Maw who's like, hey guys, what about me? Like, it doesn't really feel like it kind of makes sense as a cohesive unit.
Right, that's why it would make a lot more sense to have just like more of a wave play AD carry. Like, heck, even at this point, like a Sivir to just buff up the entire team if you want to just run at the enemy. That might be an issue in the laning phase for you, but it is an odd AD carry that doesn't fit the rest of the comp.
And even, I mean, as far as top lane matchups, something like the Rumble is available if you want a more advantageous matchup against the Shen. That's even still up. So even just the Kled into the Shen, to me, is a bit of a head scratcher. And I'm interested to see where they're going to go. I mean, if it works, I think it'll work well. But if it fails, I think it's going to be pretty one-sided.
Right, this also goes both ways as well. We see Flash Wolves have an in on this team. They have an always kind of member they can kill. They have to act on that. If they don't, where do they fall in the rest of this tournament as well when you're giving something that clear to engage on? So it leaves it all up in the air. I'm not saying they're not going to do it, but these are the things to look at. If it's going to be that open for them, they should be able to clean that up.
And we didn't even talk about Galio's support. You know, like we talked about all the other picks being kind of like weird and a little bit out of place right now, but Galio's support is not something we see very often in competitive play. Like, it's been top lane almost every single game it's been played. But bot lane as well, like, yes, you are very tanky because you have your damage reduction. Yes, you have your ulti as well to set up damage reduction to a team member, and your taunt as your main CC. It's still so risky in this lane against an Ashe.
Yeah, it really is. And you can also max taunt, you know, and get that earlier damage reduction, the percentage damage reduction, if you want to go that route for support. So a lot of people will like to do that since you don't really want to be always perma-pushing if you're trying to harass with your Q and killing off minions accidentally and that sort of thing. But I just really feel like WE, sure, their comp works well from ahead, but if you ever get behind, like, God, what do you do?
Not much. It's not a Juggermaw. It's the Puppermaw composition. As related here, Mystic going to do what he can to keep himself alive. The Void, who is his only escape from really the void that
self-peel
can bring. The self-peel.
I mean, the peeling is basically that we have 4 guys in your back line, and you have to deal with these 4 guys.
It's very true.
Mystic's sitting in the back.
And to be fair, I mean, Ben could play it more like a Guardian support. You can stand and try to hopefully taunt the Kha'Zix when he comes in and things like this, but it feels very hard to pull off, and we'll have to see it very well played.
I mean, I think that point is legit, though, when it comes to actually protecting against multiple flanks. Obviously, the taunt from Ben is all around him. It's not just in one direction like a Shen taunt. That is definitely something in his favor. Fizz against Ahri as well. It's not quite like the Fizz against Syndra, where Syndra doesn't really have any mobility to get out of a potential fish that flies at her. Ahri will be able to either dodge it with her ulti and just trade ultis, or if she finally gets hit, you can still use the 3 ultis very defensively to kind of get away from that one shot. And
one of the other nice things about that matchup is if you actually use the first charge of your ultimate to dodge the fish, you can use the later charges to go right back in and start playing aggressive.
I know we were just criticizing Betty before this game, but that little step forward there was very smart. When you play against Galio, again, when he fires the Q right at you, very often if you actually step forward, because they kind of fly around you, you won't actually get hit by it. And you can then trade back with Galio, who's now useless, basically, because he's obviously not going to hit you once the Q is on cooldown. That was nice little step forward.
Especially in that level 1 situation. No punch to the face, no taunt.
Exactly.
You're in. Now under the turret. Should miss a few here. And then the rest are quite easy to farm out.
Or are they? I mean, Sword Art is just for some reason not prepping any minions.
Oh.
Costa's AD carry a couple last hits there. That was
he's
kind of
mad
bizarre.
about the last game. He's like, nope, no, you're not getting out of this farm, not for you. I like Galio early levels though. Again, base damage is really, really high. His poke is good with Q. His early push is good as well. So I think early on it is just fine for WE. Will be hard with getting a kill when Tahm Kench is nearby.
Top lane matchup also going to be pretty important here because you look at what WE is running. They have Fizz with a teleport, and they have Kled, who's kind of, you're hoping he's going to be side lane advantage, and you kind of almost want to run like a 1-3-1 or something, but then your 3-man squad isn't very safe. It's definitely a strange strat.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be the 1-3-1 of like, as long as we can push the side lanes, then
collapse.
And then collapse, exactly. We're like, yeah, you know what, this guy in the mid lane, he's just bait at this point. Still though, early on they're going to push in with the Galio.
And this last hitting is actually really bad from the Flash Wolves bot lane. I'm actually pretty surprised. I mean, Sword Art is just not prepping minions. Like, I'm getting tilted for Betty by watching this. There's multiple minions that he's just been standing there not prepping whatsoever. And if you're getting harassed under the turret, that makes some sense. But there's been a lot where WE is backing up and Sword Art is just not helping out his
I missed that one too.
I mean, do you really, are you really supposed to be losing his Ashe to Kog'Maw down 12 CS? Like,
but the problem is the support matchup.
Yeah.
Tahm Kench early on will not add really any value, and the Galio with the base damage on Q will definitely add some value here, so it is still good early on. I just want to see if you set up some ganks around it, because it is easy to tag the Galio as a Tahm Kench when he's standing right in your face, gobble him up.
Well, they already call for a bit of health. Karsa comes down, he puts the vision ward in.
That's just dumb. Like that damage on the caster.
And it's pushing it too. It's the same thing Huni was doing last time. Q, that Winds of War to the caster line, it pushes the caster line, you have the guy under the turret, and you just keep doing it to him.
I love the zoom in on the mist cannon there.
Now we're just following him, man. We're just going to keep watching his last hitting.
Yeah, well, not much is going on elsewhere on the map. People are kind of just farming it out. So, I mean, Karsa, he definitely would like to go down there. As you said, Tahm Kench does add a lot as far as actual gank assist. And, if they can get a beat on where Lee Sin is, that could give them confidence to actually try to play a bit more aggressively and look to make a move.
Well, they found him now.
Bit of a spot on the Kandi, freshly placed ward. Karsa doing what he can to make sure they do not allow any type of snowball here from what's happening in the bot lane. And Kandi puts a little bit of deep vision in as well, Pink and that vision. Clean up here for Xie in the mid lane, 38-28. He's going to go ahead and soak the rest of those up. And that 10 CS lead in the bot has kind of gone towards WE, but Flash Wolves getting away from their turret, a bit of breathing room due to this vision on the bot side, and things are looking a little better.
We've seen two different Team WEs this year, LPL and MSI, where the one version is trying to play very aggressive early on, lose early on, be behind for about 30 minutes, then rely on a big, mistake around the Baron.
Bing, bang, boom.
Bing, bang, boom, you're back in the game, you win the game, and it's like, oh, okay, now you're the LPL champions. And the other one is actually get ahead early game, and then play really nice League of Legends to close out the game. So if they can avoid some of those silly mistakes they can make early on, they can actually play really well. And we saw that against SKT as an example, and some of the wins they've picked up.
I agree, and I think that their team fighting is really strong, and Mystic is a guy who has really impressed me in his team fighting. And he'll really have to impress, honestly, on the Kog'Maw, I think, to make this work, because he's not going to have help. So he needs to really have good positioning, really be careful about when and where he finds his opportunities. Another thing to note now is that's TP down for 957 with Stand United available for MMD. So they can look to make plays, especially around Ahri and Kha'Zix. You can 5-man bot very easily. You can look for a 3-man mid. There's opportunities here, and I want to see Flash Wolves be proactive with that ult.
Yeah, they're roaming down now with Ahri here because she pushed the lane.
They're looking for the 5-man bot.
Oh, he's taking damage. Kasa is nearby. He's saying just prep that TP, my friend.
As soon as the wave comes up, they're going to start the Shen ultimate. They're going to go in for it.
Karsa doesn't wait, he uses the cone, there goes the ultimate. Stand United is what Flash Wolves do, and the assist goes to the entire team twice in a row. The kills over to Karsa.
So well done there by the Flash Wolves. Oh!
Ah.
Oh, nice.
Too much turret
kill.
aggro, good devour up.
And they're actually pushing topside. They're going to try to trade a turret back for this. We'll see if WE can do it. They want to try to go for this first turret, and GA covering bot side might end up coming okay.
Yeah, they're going to get it because Flashwolves honestly went a little bit too deep after the kills happened. They actually didn't get out. There's no minions taking that turret damage, and now top lane tower and that one kill on the very last hit on Casa.
And the solo gold is just going to go right over to 957. So funny enough, despite a great play from Flashwolves, WE come out ahead because the initial play was great, but the extended play, they done goofed, Defigio.
Yeah, we like this. We like this. You know, you call it,
This is good.
You set it up, you kill Mystic. Ben tries to buy some time, but now we gotta look at also the minions here because Tower right now is hitting Flashwolves, and I want to see it stays on MMD, switches over to Casa because there's no minions.
Oh, he flashed. You can't devour him if you flash away from him.
Devour the Shen though.
Yeah, they needed to push the wave up, and that's really kind of where it went wrong, because if they don't actually die, if the minions are tanking the turret for them on the exit, they can push, get the first turret, and not lose their jungler. So they kind of skipped one step, and they get punished quite a bit for what otherwise would have been a great play.
Now it's the version 2 of Team WE where they are winning the early game, and this composition here that could really struggle early on, now getting 600 goal lead, and they're looking for more, maybe not. Just fighting over vision. That's what we like.
Sitting on the bottom of the screen, licking his lips, ready to get into the fight. Nothing comes of that one. Level 6 is across the board, or I should say across the board, mostly on the side of Flashwolves. Still waiting for Mystics and Benz in the bot side, so they could activate an arrow if everybody gets there in time. Flashwolves has a bit of pressure on the bot here.
And we do have to remember that despite Stand United being down, Flashwolves will have the earlier TP. So with the Ashe ulti, you can look at TP in your Shen and try to go for a repeat of that play.
Blue over to Karsa. Quick kick to the face of Sword Art. Things were getting fishy on the back line.
They didn't have to flash away because he was already tagged here by Sword Art. Now, Shie's not really under pressure. He's actually getting a lot of farming because Mabel roamed bot lane, obviously lost quite a bit mid lane, and now Mabel went for another roam, and he's going to pick up the farm now and even it out. But this is very good for Fizz that at this point in the game, you're even in CS.
It really is, but I think that the Ocean Dragon, getting it this early while it's still going to affect laning phase, is actually quite nice for Flashwolves. I think it's actually one of the most powerful early game dragons,
Definitely.
as it really does help shore up any laning phase deficiencies and help emphasize your strengths, because this means that they can push in even more, they'll have more mana, they can harass, and that's kind of what the mid and bot lane are both doing.
Just helps so much when it comes to actual laning. Whenever you're not getting attacked by anything. Now, bot lane tower, obviously no flash on Mystic and Ben, so they have to just step away and respect it.
But look at this. If they actually move up, there's a TP ward behind that turret that they could look for, and Stand United's almost available. So they do have to be wary
they don't
of that.
get it with the sweeper.
Oh.
They knew, okay, someone placed a ward back here. Now they're actually feeling very safe because they didn't see anything. They're like, okay, there's no ward, this is fine. We've secured the location, and they're gonna sit here. They're just gonna try and wave clear. The problem is if Shen leaves now, this tower dies again. But if he can get 2 kill spots on tower, that is a good trade for Flashwolves. But it's a lot of pressure. I like this from WE.
Whoa.
Didn't like that one.
Whoa. I think he should have put a few more auto attacks on the combi.
Cast the curse.
MMD playing that pretty well, and that's the threat of kind of walking up on a Shen like that under turret. If he lands a taunt, you're going to take so much retaliation damage, and this does put them in a position where they can back off and perhaps look to set up the play once Kha'Zix is back on the bottom side of the map.
Didn't stop anything from happening bot lane though, so we might actually see Mystic get his flashback up before a play is set up. Once again, Flashwolves would like Mabel to roam with them because there's TP and Xie, and that always means push out mid first, and then you can leave if you're Mabel. Then you can go join the bot lane. You don't want to sacrifice more farm by you trying to look for that one play and lose something. He's on his way down. Mystic, I don't know what.
Yikes. Quite a bit of damage. That one's going to be delivered over to Karsa as expected. And you can see just how much fighting there has been in that bot lane. We're 12 minutes in and they're under 80 CS.
And it's so much global presence with the Shen ultimate and the Tong Kench ultimate delivering in, you know, the Kha'Zix there, and they still have Stand United available. So Mystic is never really going to feel safe in this bot lane because it's so easy to set up these multi-man plays, and especially with, you know, this assassin Kha'Zix getting fed, it just makes the job even harder for Mystic.
This is the moment where Flashwolves keep that bot lane tower alive as bait. You're like, come Mystic. Yes, you're safe under this tower, and then 5 men show up and just kill him once again.
It's a long con.
Smart play, smart play. This was actually a good ulti from Sword Art. Mystic was just kind of sitting there farming, figuring out he was pretty safe, and then suddenly he got jumped without flash. There's really nothing he can do. he's trying to scale into late game. We kept talking about it in Champs, like how risky the pick actually is right now. And he's been punished in terms of the kills over to Flash Wolves, but he's still farming pretty well. Despite obviously the low numbers that you highlighted, Riff.
And he has a kill of his own thanks to Karsa, taking that turret damage. So as far as actual gold on the 80 carries, he's actually going to be, ahead of Betty. And that is something that is going to be working for him.
Yeah, just about 500 gold at this point ahead. As mid lane heads back and forth. They're 108 to 113 in CS. Just a few assists towards Maple's side here, as Flash Wolves has definitely been the more active and proactive team in the early of the game.
It's not looking good right now for Flash Wolves, simply because WE again are getting out of this laning phase. Kled is going to be such a strong split pusher that Shen can't really stop in the side lane. Same for Fizz in the other side lane later. So that's always the problem when you play against these like strong split pushing carries, is they tend to be a little bit weaker in the early game, and that's why you punish them. Not this game though.
Yeah, I mean, when you give over that turret gold to the Kled, that's going to help get him going a lot. Plus, just knocking down that top lane turret always means the threat of a roam to mid, an ultimate through the jungle towards mid to dive, and things like this are so much easier to pull off.
One thing we might see in the mid lane with Xie here is you queue forward on the Fizz to the Ahri, and you fire your ulti at the same time, so you're basically guaranteed to hit it. And then when she tries to jump away with her ulti, she gets knocked up, and then you can follow her with your own Trickster. And then you can try and actually burst down or the Proto Belt. Like, you have more ways now to add extra mobility. Mystic, he learned his lesson, he's stepping away.
He's playing so safe, but it's tough because he's going to have to give up farm. Their turret is very low, and it'll likely fall here because if you try to mount a defense, unless WE can get all their members down here to kind of cover him, it's so risky.
Looks like they're staying for the long haul, but don't want to do it in a dangerous position. Still ready to get this fight going. Wards being cleared, and they should be able to grab priority over this vision here as Karsa toys with them towards that blasting cone.
Yeah, and because that play before from Flash Wolves didn't actually give them a tower, they're now stuck in that situation where double TP is ready for WE.
Well, you
Missed
see
that
one
one.
of those TPs right now. 957 coming in,
ulti
gonna
coming
throw it
in.
down and looks for the cavalry to be behind him. Ben looks to actually have the chase as well. They both get themselves into a position that might be a little sticky now. MMD focusing on to Ben as they all go for Maple. He's over the wall, but Condi has to follow with the resonating strike. They take down Mystic. The Acaphian surprised to deliver the extra damage from the passive now. He's able to take down Maple. Chasing Condi over the wall. MMD does not have the room. It does not have the space to clear it. Here comes the Abyssal Voyage, and he is over the wall quickly. Condi is on Mission Impossible. Possible safeguard over to 957. No to his turret. And 957 giving the fight. There's the hit finally from Karsa as he chops him down. Scarl runs off, and 957 will find the same fate in just a few.
Oh, and Karsa is just picking up every kill, getting so fed. But WE, what were they doing? They're chasing Maple around the whole Dragon Pit, throughout the whole fight. They're wasting all their time while the rest of the team dies.
They were just scaling. They were doing so well, just being defensive. Now they're teleporting in, Riff.
All right, it's not going to end now. Looking for the shutdown.
Ah, that fish.
Karsa's still alive. Obviously, the buffs refresh for Xie. I don't think he's going to find much more as they have left the jungle, but now they regroup the vision that they lost. We'll see what happens from here. It's just the batting order goes down, and the teams are right back to fighting.
I hope we get to see that replay, because we're going to have to cue up the Benny Hill music for this Maple chase.
That was such an unnecessary fight to try and take, and they just went all in. I guess once they committed the teleports, they're like, we're not getting out of here without a fight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the goal is still very close, but definitely not the fight you want.
You were winning before. You were like, you were ahead. You were like, great guys, set up the split moves. It's perfect, slow and steady. That was actually the way we introduced WE to this tournament. These guys will take it slow, they will play smart, calculated. This tournament's been a lot of early game aggression from WE. Tables have kind of turned around between them and Flash Wolves. So, at this point,
very long engage.
Yeah, I don't know. As they all go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the initial engage, I think, is fine, I guess, from WE. But just watch, everyone goes for Maple. 3 men chasing him. He's also over the wall. They're flashing over. They're still all chasing him. All of them. The second guy flashes over. They're still chasing him. And yeah, sure, they finally killed Maple, but you've already lost your bot lane. Everyone's chunked out of the fight. They got 2 flashes. It's like, what is happening?
Hey, we said this in champs, like, Mystic, he's on his own. You know, like, they were chasing around him.
Yeah.
But
They're just emphasizing the point
exactly, they're just making short fits.
Oh.
That was so close. He almost deserved to get out, almost.
It's almost like the Faker buff, you know, the passive taunt, everyone's going for Maple, like everybody chasing him, and it looked pretty silly.
But like even diving in before that with that Kled ult, like I get it, you're used to TP, you want to get something out in return. They got a flash for it, but then you just completely overextended, and of course, a guy like Mystic, he can't follow. Like, if he's walking close to any like little choke point, he's just gonna get jumped from left and right, and he obviously went down very quickly. Ben's appealing is not quite enough against all the engaged on Flash's side.
I mean, it ended up being a 2v4. It was WE's bot lane versus everyone minus Maple, and you're not going to win that kind of fight. So
6 kills on Casa.
Both 80 carries focusing that Blade of the Rune King to start. And yeah, 6 kills for Karsa. He got the 2, was taken down at the turret, and then just decided to add 4 more on. He got a little angry about dying. Here it could be a 5th after those 2. Make it 7-2-1. The team's going to help on this. Here actually comes the heroic entrance. I still think they may be able to take down Xie here. He gets out alive. Good chum the waters. They had to use quite a bit to get out, but vision is still there from Hawkshot.
that was actually really good from Ben. I mean, not only the ultimate coming in, but the disruption stopping them from chasing Xie, who is going to be such a key member for their team because he's actually up quite a bit in farm. He got the shutdown kill. He's a very strong member for the team right now, and if he can have side lane dominance and be protected like that, it's great.
That just bought some time as well for WE because they're waiting for Mystic to get QSS, so he's actually safe sitting in that mid lane. Arrow is on cooldown from Betty, and 3 guys were just bot lane trying to get a kill, but because that actually didn't work for Flash Wolves, it should give Mystic enough time to farm up, go back to base, get the QSS, and then he can actually sit in this lane and try and push the wave. Otherwise, he's just going to get Arrow to die.
Short lane, the favorable lane right now for Mystic. Summoners are up and he keeps himself safe. Top lane being pushed by 957 is he now backs, or I should say was pushed. Starting to become quite a force here. The engages be a little bit shorter and WE can all act on it. That fight probably goes a little bit different. 7-3 though, Flash Wolves still very much in this one. As they make sure they get themselves one of the Ocean Drakes and gather their vision back.
And I mean, honestly, you know, not only are they still in the game, but I think that they have a much easier comp to actually execute with on Flash Wolf's side. You know, this is a pretty standard, straightforward team composition. I think that WE kind of has to pull off, you know, a lot of nice picks and flanks and things like this to really make it work.
So not like the last fight. Like everything, you know, different.
Just take that, do the opposite.
Do the opposite, right.
Sounds so easy.
I like that
Just
one.
look for that next time.
You do feel very powerful though when Kled pops that ulti, kind of following him into battle. You're all sped up as a Galio in the front line. Like, it's hard to then stop. When you don't hear the one guy in the back saying, no, guys, no, wait for me. You're just going all in.
There's just a light bark behind you.
Like, yes, you're going for that one. And then you die. That's not good, because now it's 7-3 Flash Wolves. And suddenly Maple, while despite being 0-1-3, actually has the damage to kill some of these squishy guys.
Pretty funny little combo, actually. So Ben is queuing the back line, then one alt chop from Mystic finishes off all those minions. So he's kind of prepping them for him there, and you know, not a big deal, but just a nice little interaction.
Karsa backs. This might spell slow down for Flash Wolves here as they recoup and get themselves back onto the map. Let's see what kind of items they get. Actually, vision wards coming in for the side of Flash Wolves so they can start to encroach those further inside of WE's jungle.
The solo laners for WE actually are completing some very important items now. This power spike 4957, when you have the Titanic plus the Black Cleaver, you start to really kind of ramp up in strength. And Fizz as well, completing that Zonia's plus the Proto Belt does allow you to play much more aggressively, dive for the backline in these sorts of fights. And you know, we haven't talked too much about it, but Betty is very vulnerable to a Fizz also.
Oh yeah.
And you know, that's certainly someone that you can go for, but Sword Art is going to be there to try to deny.
Exactly. Tahm Kench is like the Fizz mid-counter champion. We used more and more, obviously, because like Lulu Kama banned almost every game, enables some of these melee supports to be played who typically are better outside of laning phase than in laning phase. Now, nice little move here mid. You see a TP coming behind though.
But ulti going in.
EA gonna look for the back line. If he can hook it just around a Karsa or Betty, he's gonna hold it for now. It would be MMD or Sword Art. And a good in and out. The turret is safe from the teleport in.
And Flash Wolves, very easy disengage. That's the TP down from Xie, as well as the ultimate on 957, and it only cost him Sword Art's exhaust, so definitely pretty good trade, I'd say, for Flash Wolves.
So Dragon up in just a few seconds. WE here already down towards it. Might as well start a fight around it. Problem is, again, Flash Wolves still have the ulti from Mabel. Now they can actually see if they can position around to maybe get him in a flanking position.
And they also have the scuttle, so they know if WE has actually gone to the Dragon, and when they have it, you can assume that they're waiting in one of these bushes looking for a pick. So Flash Wolves should not be caught off guard by their placement.
You have to, of course, remember Kase is so fed right now in Kha'Zix. Like, if it is a split-up fight where he's actually able to kind of find that one little guy who's left alone, I'm looking at Mystic, of course, right now. He can kill him so quickly. And it's not the first time we've seen fed junglers this tournament. I feel like it happens all the time. The junglers just pick up all the kills. Definitely the role with the most kills so far. I believe Peanut is the player with actually the most kills.
That's not really a shocker after the 15-0 Lee Sin game.
Definitely a very important game for WE. They have more chances, but even on this one, they can lock in that knockout stage with a victory here. So it'll be much easier for them to think about their next days with a little pressure off. 7-3 here. They start to fall behind slightly in this game, but very even now as they look to grab the next mountain Drake.
See, actually, Mabel now finally found that flank we talked about just before. Coming
Double
from multiple
TP's
angles.
coming in.
Mystic alone!
Oh, the Mystic backline gets hit immediately. Flashes out, 75% HP, and that's Maple's ultimate. A three-man taunt by MMD. Spirits Refuge forward to block a few of the autos and abilities coming in. And Mystic waiting to get in. The Dragon now de-aggro so they can have a full fight. But it is WE choked into this jungle spot here. Where's the damage, though, from either team as they just go tit for tat back and forth and disengage?
Yeah, Flash Wolves easily push them back. I mean, both summoners have to be blown instantly from Mystic. He has no protection from the Stand United onto Maple, and lots of summoners blown on the side of WE. Almost, actually, no summoners were using that fight from Flash Wolves, and they still have ultimates available on a few of these guys, so it's definitely pretty hard for WE to win these fights.
Again, both teams are looking for these flanks here. You need to set up your carries like a Fizz running head first into a Shen. That's not going to do anything for WE, but this time, because they were starting the Dragon, it was Flash Wolves who could actually set up the flank. With Mabel coming from one side, Mystic just left on his own and kind of walked down towards Mabel as well. So you can blame him as well. It's not just the team not peeling for him, but it's really hard for the team getting engaged on to actually fight properly due to how all these different champions want to come in from these different flanks.
Whoa. Turret for a fight. Looks like they just use the Abyssal Voyage, so nothing more of mid gets taken. They can't really get an engage off of this. Bot lane, however, needs to be respected here by WE, and we'll see who they send down.
Yeah, there's so many minions down there. They need to send someone down right now. So Flash Wolves have the opportunity to try to look for a play as Ash Arrow is back up, and they know that 957 has no TP, but it is a pretty small window. We'll see if they go for it.
Chum the Waters, disengaging from the turret. Nice little zone there from Xie. Didn't even want that to hit. Would have been nice for damage, but it's just going to be another repeat. Next wave could be that going down with Maple's pressure on the top side.
Kase is trying to hide here, as we talked about, between the lanes. Whenever they're trying to force WE to send someone to defend the side lane, Kase sits in between, hoping someone face checks him on the way, and then he can get a lot of damage on them, maybe even kill them. And then he realizes, okay, no one is actually face checking. I'm just going to join my mid laner and take down the tower. So it doesn't look like much with Kase sitting there, but it adds so much value for Flash Wolves because they know if anyone shows up, he can actually kill them 1v1.
You definitely can. I gotta say, I expected Condi to go up and help secure that turret defense, with Xie, because he was just doing the Krugs the whole time while he was sitting right there. And that one last minion can't be taken down. They lose the turret, and you can argue that, yeah, it was going to go down eventually, but I still think you want to make your opponents fight for every inch. You don't want to just give over free turrets like that.
Right, you do that, then they have the next move in mind already, and they're a few steps ahead of you without any type of trouble, any type of contest. Here we see Flash Wolves going to get back as, again, the bot lane is pushed. We're able to move Betty towards mid lane here, and they might just solidify that turret once and for all.
And WE, after they took that fight now about 10 minutes ago, where they kind of threw away the entire lead, has not really been able to set up this split push again. Like, it's been a lot of moves around Dragon and mid lane for fights. You might get another one.
Stand United coming in.
Flies in, Ben could be the hit here, but they don't want the tank.
Good
957 as well on the other side. Ben doing what he can to set it up for the team, but such low health bars on both sides as Xie starts to enter the fight. And Stand United had called MMD down up from the bottom.
Ben actually completely denied that, pre-channeling the taunt. So right as they come out with the Shen and Karsa, he taunts up Karsa. Karsa has to bail out of that play right away, and they get a lot of summoners off Flash Wolves and buy a little bit of time for Xie on the bot side, and he may finally get to the turret.
Well, Shen is down here now saying, nah, you're not getting in there.
One of these days, Deficio, one of these days.
Soon he'll get it. Give it one hit. Come on, you can do it.
He can.
He just holds the minions out.
He's tempted. He's respecting the fact that everyone is coming. Tahm Kench ulti is ready as well. So smart play, not being greedy for the tower. Another fight though where no one dies. Like everyone is kind of hitting the front line a little bit. MMD is still trying to look for something, but now once again, WE back in the side lanes, trying to push them out. And it's Flash Wolves who's waiting for that opening to kind of push back, then group mid and look for another engage from someone like Mystic. They didn't get him this time, they were all hitting Ben. And Karsa had to also flash out on the other side.
It does feel like Betty has not been super proactive with his Ash arrows this game. Has not really been looking for too many picks, and I always think that like in a scenario like this, you could just throw out that arrow, threaten the dive, and use it as posture for turret damage, as that turret is very, very low, and Mystic standing by himself, you don't have to commit if the rest of the team shows up.
Lack of confidence. You can't miss it if you don't use it. And then we can't blame him.
There you go. That's true.
I like it.
Advice for all the Ashe players at home.
Yeah, just throw them out.
You hit
don't
every
if you don't
arrow
want to get
you
flamed.
don't throw.
Yeah,
It's the opposite.
Exactly.
Please no. 7-3, 29 minutes in here, and still neck and neck. Turrets to be dropped on both sides. Betty 005, Sword Out 007. A lot of the kills on Karsa. He goes down in these fights, and maybe a loss of power on the side of Flash Wolves.
SMD, the gatekeeper, protecting that tower. No one allowed to hit it. Still holding strong on the Shin, and again, you can stack so much armor against Kled, and it's hard for Kled to actually take you down in time.
It really is, and it's not like there's a ton of magic damage you have to worry about. Yes, there is some mixed damage, but Mystic in trouble.
I was gonna say, where's the arrow? Hits him right in the face, waiting for Karsa's jump in, knowing he was going to Quicksilver. He knew what he was doing. They clear up the wards, and this turret is not long for this world as the next minion wave just coming up on River.
All summoners and QSS down for Mystic now, so really this is a great time to try to force a fight from Flash Wolves. If they can get Maple into the backline with MMD, they should be able to get a guaranteed kill on Mystic.
They just want to get this tower so badly to open up the map so Maple can actually get behind the enemy team, but it's the same setup. Whenever the top lane is being pushed out, Flash Wolves will just group mid and look for that engage, but of course Arrow now is on cooldown. Another play they can make though is actually use Tahm Kench ulti from the mid lane to the Maple side lane. And if it's a Fist sitting there, you can chase him down pretty easily and make a play, because Mystic is not really a threat in the mid lane. He's pretty slow at pushing out this lane, and he's sitting very far back, but Flash Wolves have been playing it extremely slow. And just only look for mid lane fights. The tower is low. Someday, they will actually kill it.
Yeah, I mean, the tower is very low, and although they are kind of being thwarted from taking it down, WE hasn't done anything across the river in so long.
Yes.
They're not even approaching these turrets, let alone getting any chip damage on it. And they don't seem to have the confidence to. Kled is not winning out against Shen whatsoever.
Yeah. And again, also the Tahm Kench. When your mid laner in a split push comp gets pushed in, it allows Tahm Kench to just go through your lane very easily, and it stops you from pushing forward. Kondi is not going for the steal.
Makes the right choice.
It's another dragon though for Flash Wolves, double Mountain and the Ocean Drake. Like again, because of the lack of mid lane pressure with this, 80 carry sitting here, not being able to push out. If you go too aggressive in a side lane, you get ganked. 2 or 3 guys and you die, and then we flame you for that.
Yeah, and I mean, in these slower games, the Mountain Dragons can be exceptionally powerful because you already have someone like the Kha'Zix and the Ashe and everyone who's going to be able to take down this Baron pretty quickly. Now you have double Mountain, which does allow you to rush this down very, very fast if you see the opportunity arise.
They are not allowing WE to move any wards forward. With the amount of knowledge WE has that it's this mid turret, they still can't do anything. The fundamentals of how strong Flash Wolves is playing just that mid turret continues to run WE around and not allow them to engage. Guardian Angel, however, 957, so the fight could be a little hairier. They're going to get more extended. And here you can see the wet noodle fight begins in the bot lane.
I just don't really see Kled ever killing the Shen unless it's like I don't even know. You'd have to build so specifically for the 1v1 that I don't think it's ever going to happen. But it looks like they're finally going to knock this down. But Flash Wolves are posturing around the Baron. They could ult the Shen in and try to start it up.
Remember, we have double TP and WE here, so Flash Wolves could actually force those TPs by just starting Baron and then disengage instantly. But they decided not to actually go for that play. And it's something we see a lot of teams do, where they start a Baron, you're kind of like, ooh, that seems risky, but it's only to force teleports. As soon as you see TPs, they back away.
And I like those plays that much more when you do have a Shen, because you're working with the double globals and being able to force those TPs out, even if you have to match. Then you have your second global, so you can get the bottom lane control and force around Baron much more easily when your opponent can't necessarily react to it.
Yeah, so would have loved to see, or seen Flash Wolves actually started the Baron there, just to make that play. I like the move though from GA to just go down and try and get that tower. Finally, they take it down. But the problem is still the mid lane. They don't have any control in that lane, so they can't actually push for tier 2 towers in the side lanes due to the threat of Tom Kench and his friends. So now it becomes a party around this Baron, and they're so even in goal. Like, one fight is just gonna break this game like wide open, where suddenly the team who picks up the win will probably take that Baron and use that to get a massive advantage.
1, 2, 3 turrets, as Kobe says. Just so much gold on the ground, they just got to pick it up. They got to get to it. Nobody has been able to. The wave clear huge here from the Voidus coming in from the Winds of War. And Flash Wolves has been at this mid turret now for about 10 minutes.
And also pretty nice that they were actually able to defend despite Mystic sitting around in base for quite some time, because he was completing his range blade, and now on that power spike, they're looking to fight.
Just a hit. Look at Xie right behind him as well. Chum the Waters is going to knock onto Sword Art. Betty has to stay on the back. He is kiting this one out, but Xie is heading right for him. And now they're onto Condi. Mystic on the back line, firing shots off. Betty's trying to get with the team. Here's a heroic entrance. Nobody's popped up, but it does help WE a bit. Flash Wolves somehow scatter, only losing one, but WE get the fight they finally want.
Yeah, we finally got to see this comp here that's just diving the back line. GA and, of course, 957 together. Had to use everything on Sword Art, who also had a perfect
They're going to start Baron.
there. They're going for a TP in as well.
Remember, Kled can remount off of doing damage to that Baron. They're TPing in. They're going to try to force this. They may turn for MMD if he completes the TP.
Does taunt over the wall. The vision's there. That's going to be on Ben. He decides to stop clearing it as the team goes to jockey.
Sword Art again.
Sword Art. Chum the Water twice in a row. Deja vu for WE onto Flash Wolves. And that's exactly the hit they wanted. Betty and Sword Art down.
We're just waiting for that Maple ulti to be ready. Just a few more seconds for him, and he can actually go in. MMD's full HP. He can taunt in the Baron pit.
And Karsa can look for the steal on the side. He's poking them down.
This is so risky.
Trying to set up for this play. Do they commit to the 50-50? Condi needs to make sure he secures it if they go for it.
Level 14 to 15 smite. That's going to be on Condi. He is able to grab it. And Karsa could go down. Throws down the ultimate for a bit of mitigation. Now they're on to MMD. Maple wants a few more Foxfire in, but the living artillery too close to taking him out as WE looks to get out safely.
Yeah, WE needs to retreat now. Condi, flash Q, so nice.
Retreat to the fight, if you will. They're going to take down Karsa as he stays too long behind the pit. And WE make it out with Baron.
It is so fun to watch WE once they don't lose that early game. Look at that engage from mid lane, out of nowhere. Kled ulti with Fizz following in. They get the kill on Betty in the end. They go for Baron. Perfect disengage into one kill. They go back to the Baron, have full control of where Karsa is, and they know they can just take it down. Like, such a clean setup, and this is the reason WE has just been slightly above the other 4 teams that are all fighting for that second place, and why WE right now is sitting at 4-3, potentially 5-3 after this.
You also have to love that they're doing it right around a major item buy for their AD carry. You know, the Rage Blade is such a big power spike for the Kog'Maw. Just getting that little bit of extra damage in for them in the team fight. You know, it was a very close fight, and that could have been the edge.
Looks like they'll bring that power away from the top side of the map, as you will. Now that Baron's down, just on the edge is Mystic. He's getting there in a moment. They're doing this all without their AD carry and initiating as soon as he arrives. Got to be careful of how fast they go back. 957 off the Scarl, dodges a bit of damage. Great redemption to the back line. Heroic charge in. Not really going to help too many, but they do get Maple Zanyas, and Xie looks for the finishing kill here. Barriers on. It makes Xie chase a little too far. Is it what WE wants? And they are able to solidify the fight. 3 down for Flash Wolves.
They get the fight, and they're going to get the game here, crashing down the bot lane. What a decisive fight and decisive victory victory for WE.
After waiting so long, guarding down that mid turret, it does fall, but WE does not. They persevere into the base of Flash Wolves. WE takes down the first Nexus turret, and WE also locks themselves into the knockout stage at 5-3 in MSI 2017.
They confirm they're the second best team at MSI right now.
Locking in that first pool seed for the LPL for Worlds is a victory in and of itself for this team WE. They want to represent their region well. Their players have talked about the massive amount of pressure coming from the biggest region in League. Their fans expect so much from them, and they would accept nothing less than success.
Exactly, the LPL fans, they said top 2. Guys, that's what we expect. Every other region, we're kind of like, you know, top 4 is nice, and we can just lock down that first pool seed, but no. LPL were like, no, top 2 for you guys. You know, we want to see what you can do on this stage, and they just locked it in. At least they locked in the top 4, and, you know, again, that first seed. And it's so fun to watch how they're just defending after they actually fell a little bit behind. One engage with Kled and Fizz together. They dive that back line, they get to Betty, they kill him, then it's just a perfect setup around Baron. And as we said, you know, the game just breaks wide open, and they use that to just close it out a few minutes later.
And when they're able to do it that aggressively, we saw this comp, you know, in full effect, because there's so much aggression on the back line that none of the Flash Wolves players in that last fight were able to even get near Mystic. Mystic is walking forward, free firing, with the added bonus of that move speed from the Kled ultimate, getting so many autos out in the back line, and they just decimated that last fight.
And I guess this kind of is a growing up from where we put WE coming into the tournament. A slow team, but now they can activate. We've seen it from them when they need to turn it on. They can turn it on.
Definitely been playing some fast-paced League of Legends here at MSI. And I think they're fun to watch at the same time. Like,